Ash wanted to see how powerful the desire to fit in is shaping our behavior. If conformity is as powerful as Ash and others believed, researchers should be able to manipulate people's behavior by putting them under pressure to conform. He was intrigued by how peer pressure could lead people to conform, even when they were aware that the rest of the group was wrong. The goals of these experiments were to demonstrate the power of conformity in groups. Conformity has a strong influence in our behavior and can lead us to act in ways that we would never do if we were left to our own devices. Therefore, conformity is clearly worthy of interest and studied by behavioral scientists. Ash's conformity experiments gave us a lot of new information about conforming behavior and opening up a lot of possibilities for future research.
So I'll be covering the hypothesis. The hypothesis was that social conformity will always be present in a social situation. Even in modern times, we can see it displayed in how fashion can control people from stepping out of the usual norms of just what they usually wear. In Ash's experiment, he hypothesized that when set in a group of people, the test person would yield every time through. And this was demonstrated because he gave two different options. There was a group in which there was peer pressure or social conformity, almost the same thing, and they were both applied. One was a public event and one was a private event in a way of words, and both of these came out to be different. The test subject had more of a personal opinion than the second in the private time around, when he wasn't influenced by the others.
All right, so for methods and procedures, Ash conducted a visual perception study where a group of 8 participants were asked to compare the lengths of vertical lines drawn on one card to a standardized line on another card. 7 of the participants conspired with the experimenter to test the decision-making of the one volunteer participant. One card had 3 different lengths of vertical lines drawn on it, and the other card had a single line drawn on it called the standard line, which was the same length as one of the lines on the other card. In the first trial, each participant was asked which of the 3 lines on the first card matched a standardized line. Everybody answered correctly. On the second trial, the same question was asked with different cards, and all the participants answered correctly. In the third trial, the 7 participants working with the experimenter gave the correct answer, and the one participant was left with the decision to either conform to the rest of the group or keep their own opinion.
After each participant took part in the experimental situation several times, about 75% of the participants went along with the group's incorrect general agreement. All trials combined, the participants agreed with the group of the inaccurate responses, about 1/3 of the time. To be sure that the line lengths would be judged accurately, individuals in a control group of participants were asked to write down their answers to the line comparison questions. The participants that were in this group were accurate 98% of the time. Ash results of the power to conform were clearly shown. If a group of individuals that don't know each other are willing to conform to others' judgment, how strong are their own beliefs?
The real power of social pressure to conform was demonstrated clearly and scientifically for the first time through Ash's results. His experiments were so important that this early research sparked a huge wave of additional studies that continues to this day. His studies greatly elaborated our knowledge of the specific factors that determine the effects conformity has on our behavior. He demonstrated the power of conformity in groups and showed that even simple objective facts cannot withstand the pressure of group influence. For example, attraction to a group demonstrated that the more committed someone is to a particular group, the more likely you are to conform to the behavior and attitudes of that group. In other words, a person's tendency to conform to that group will be extra strong. Another thing to point out is that the behavior and expectations of others shape how we think and act on a daily basis, because what we observe among others teaches us what is normal. It also raises interesting questions and concerns about how knowledge is constructed and how we can address social problems that stem from conformity among others.